All right, under further review is here, and we have Portal Talk today. We have the college football semifinals happening Thursday and Friday. So we're going to talk about both of them. But before we get into that, per usual, I'm going to throw out our little advertisement. Go subscribe to our YouTube page under further review. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. Give us a follow. Yeah, just join the discussion. But let's go into Portal Talk. So there was a few interesting subjects, and I'm pulling up my notes right now because I really want to talk about them. But actually, do we want to start with Portal Talk, or do we want to do Ty Simpson declaring?
Let's do Portal Talk, and then
Okay.
we'll do Ty Simpson declare, and then we'll make our picks.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. Ty Simpson, Carnell Tate, and Caleb Downs we can talk about because they all declared the past 2 days. First, I wanted to talk about Ole Miss. So actually, we'll go into Ole Miss. I want to start with the Williams from Washington. Did you guys see that? Demon Williams?
Yep, declared, transferred, enter the portal, yeah.
Yeah, so he goes into the portal, but there was a whole background behind it. So 4 days ago, he signs a deal with Washington. He says he's coming back for the 2026 season. All is good in Washington land. And then last night, it came pretty late. I think it was around like this time, like 8 o'clock, where he announced that he was entering the portal. Came as a surprise. Apparently, the coaches on the Washington staff, the players, found out through Instagram where he made a post. And it gets a little tricky. So he's being connected to LSU right now. Apparently, Miami could also be in play. But LSU, Lane Kiffin, they were at a basketball game last night with Sam Leavitt. So he was on a visit to LSU. So that's a little awkward seeing this break and knowing that that's going to be competition for the quarterback position at LSU. The other thing is, I believe Jed Fish's wife went into the comments on social media and kind of blasted Williams because she said all the players were at a funeral for an athlete at Washington last night, and that's when the news was broke. So she was kind of saying it was a little insensitive. I think the exact word she said was disgusting that he broke that news while all the players were grieving an athlete who passed away. Washington has since last night said that they are going to connect with the Big Ten, see if they can keep Williams. Apparently, it's something with his contract they're looking into. But I think that just makes it even more awkward. Now you have your star quarterback who clearly somebody came in and said, here's the bag, here's a lot of money, come join our school. And he entered the transfer portal. He doesn't want to be at your school anymore. And you're going to try to force him to stay. But the news around the whole college football is he signed for $4 million at Washington. It's not too far off from what Sorsby got at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So what is he being offered? It can't be much higher than Sorsby. I mean, what, 5-6 million? So you're leaving for an extra mill or two, which I guess in the grand scheme of things for these kids,
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
yeah. But like, what are your thoughts about how that went down? Because if it's me, and I know I'm not an athlete in college or anything, but I'm going into the portal, I'm playing it out for a few days. I'm talking to the schools. If I knew this was even in the back of my mind at some point, then I'm going to negotiate and then bring it back to Washington and say, if you can't beat this, I'm going to leave your school. But I guess at the time he felt like Washington was his home. At the time, I don't think anybody was tampering, quote unquote. I guess tampering's not really a thing anymore. But it was just interesting how it unfolded because he signed 4 days ago and now he's leaving. But Washington's so salty, and now they're looking into ways of retaining him, and it doesn't sound like it's going to work out in their favor.
Even if it did, I mean, just like the whole situation, super awkward. Like, why would you want to retain him? Like, what is that? I guess you're hurting him, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you still have to honor your end of the contract if you retain him, right? Like, I mean, you don't just get to retain him for free. So, like, if they sign him for $4 million and that was a contract, and you're going to retain him, and you're going to find a way to forcefully do it, why even bother? You still got to pay him, and he's not going to be happy to be there. You're not going to be happy to have him. It's going to be a super it's already an awkward situation. Now you're turning it into that's super toxic and it's going to become something. I think it's bad all around. Obviously, two wrongs don't make a right. Washington didn't cause this by what we seem, right? Like, we don't know. Washington didn't cause this. Everything was good. But then by, forcefully trying to retain him, I don't know. It's kind of making it equally as bad. Now, maybe they could try and get him to have to repay something. Like, that might be, worth, like I said, me and you've talked extensively about this NIL stuff. It needs guardrails. And, it needs it fast because things like this happen more frequently now. I mean, look at the kid from we were talking about the other day. We're committed to Nebraska, and then the next, 8 hours later, he's at, Kentucky.
Right?
Kenny Minchie, and like you know what I mean. Like I don't know. I think this is an ultimate. This right here is the penultimate tale of what NIL is. Is you know somebody could just come along and take you, and there's nothing that can be done. I guess I commend them for trying at Washington to retain him, but you're forcefully retaining him. You're just going to cause a toxic situation that's going to end up evolving into something they don't want.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like with the INL and just everything, like with the transfer portal, they should have like repercussions and like something in place for all this stuff. If you commit to somebody, I know if you have to sign the contract and everything, but it's just crazy that people are just going back or less than 24 hours on their word, and it's just not fair to the teams that are recruiting them and think that they got him, and then he just pulls it out from under them.
Yeah, that's a valid point because here's Washington a few days into the portal. They're like, we're keeping our quarterback. Now they're looking forward. They're preparing for 2026. Washington actually, a lot of people felt like could be a sleeper for next year in the Big Ten. This year, there was a point in the season this year where they were like, if all goes right, they could be in a very good position for the playoff. They could have been like a USC type, like to the final week being in the picture. I don't know if they would have made it, but next year,
they played Oregon pretty well. So
yeah, they were a strong roster, and a lot of people were excited about what they were bringing back next year. The recruiting class was one of the best that we've had in a while, so Jed Fish has been recruiting extremely well there. Overall, it's not right. I'm leaning more towards in favor of the university because now they're, what are we, 4 or 5 days into the portal? Quarterbacks have already gone to other teams, and now they're in a position where they need to go find a quarterback. I think they have lined up a few visits, which is fine, and they were like decent options. I forget who's visiting, but they have one as early as tomorrow going to their campus. So I think in the grand scheme of things, they're going to find a quarterback that's respectable. But is it to the skill level of Williams, where a lot of people were high on him, and obviously people are throwing a lot of money his way? But that's the discussion right now: is how broken this college football portal is. Like there needs to be restrictions because each year it's just getting worse and worse. I don't think I remember last season this happening where players went into the portal, they grabbed an offer from a team, and then they went back to their school and said, "Hey, like match this." And a lot of people are doing that. I just saw it from Michigan's standpoint. I know that those two offensive linemen went to Texas and they said, "Hey, like what are you willing to offer me because you really want me?" And then they went back to Michigan, and next thing you know, they were staying for next season at Michigan. It's happening across the board. So it's turning into free agency where you can go to a team for 1 year, you can go into free agency or the quote unquote the portal, and you can go back to your team and say, hey, like I just got offered this much money. Can you beat it or match it? So the schools are on the back end right now. The upper hand is with the players by far. And college football is going to really be kicking themselves in a few years. It reminds me of the college football playoff where two teams like JMU and Tulane got into the playoffs and we're like, this sucks. Like, how can we let this happen? We need to make a fix. It's trial and error. Like now it's at a point where, we're seeing more and more, tough situations like this. And we're sitting here saying, wow, this stinks. Like we really need to make a change at some point. And I really hope college football can make a change.
And plus it's kind of like, for the schools that get the good talent and that they prove themselves during the season and everything. They're kind of like the minor leagues for all these big schools that'll just be like, hey, yeah, I'll offer you this kind of contract, and
yeah, they can't keep up.
No,
they're going to be robbing all their players. Even exactly. If a team like JMU makes the playoffs, like those kids are going to move on to greener lands.
I mean, we already saw it too. They've lost a huge portion of the team. If you want to credit that to Chesney,
yeah.
But the truth is, they're just other schools came along, saw them in the playoff, and plucked their players. It's just it's gone to the highest bidder. We have a legitimate free agency period, and I've said it before. The only thing I blame in all of this is the NCAA because you give a little to take, to get a little, and the NCAA for however many years was unwilling to give anything and just take. And now they lost in court, and they have nothing they can do now. And there's nothing they can do to rein this back in. And I think every year it progressively gets worse. So if we're talking about this right now, imagine what we're going to be talking about next cycle. It's going to be insanity, like pure insanity. You're going to, their players are already up. Like Sorsby got $5 million.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that's probably the largest individual sum from a school to a player. But if we're already at $5 million, what is it going to be next year? Soon these guys are going to have no incentive. Just stay in college as long as you can, play as many years as you can, and then we'll figure out the NFL from there. But I mean, this is going to hurt the NFL as well as it hurt. Inevitably, it's going to end up hurting the product that football is in college. It's going to be super top heavy.
Well, I have a question for you guys. Why spend so much effort into recruiting freshmen if this is just going to happen? Because like outside of like Michigan this year of Underwood and Maryland and like the Californias of the world and BYU had a starting freshman quarterback, like outside of those one-off scenarios, for the most part, the successful teams right now are the teams that are hitting the portal hard. All 4 of our semifinal teams were winners of the portal last year. Like look at Tech. Well, not Texas Tech isn't in it still, but Texas Tech had the best portal season last year, and they're having another strong one this year. Yeah. And they were in the
second most money last year, and I think this year they're at first for money spent.
Yeah, and Chambliss came over to Ole Miss in the portal, and so on and so on. Like we can name situations where like all 4 of these teams that are left, got major wins in the portal. So if you're gonna, it seems like it's trending towards you want a more veteran heavy team in college football if you want to succeed, and like it's really, in my opinion, going to hurt the development of some of these freshmen because now they're sitting there. They're like, I'm not touching the field. My sophomore year is uncertain because like a lot of these schools can't guarantee that I'm going to start next year. So I'm going to hit the portal. But like, it's not fair because I think of like this. I hate to go back to Michigan again, but the Cole Sullivan position. He goes to Oklahoma today because Brent Venables, after Michigan visited him in Pittsburgh at his house, Brent Venables did like a full court press and offered him more money, and ultimately it was like money he couldn't turn down. But I know Cole Sullivan loved Michigan. He said it in his last interview after the bowl game. Like these kids who love the schools that they're being recruited by, there's a chance they're not going to stay there because better opportunities are going to pop up. And they're going to have to make a business decision. They're going to have to decide, like, what is valuable to me? Is it the brand of the school that I'm at? Or am I going to go somewhere where I can start and make a little extra money? And they're going to pick that every single time, right?
Well, I know you're talking for, like, the freshmen. You were saying, what's the incentive for, like, recruiting them? I know with quarterbacks, it's you do kind of want, like, a veteran player who has kind of proven himself. Yeah. I mean, even, like you said, Chambliss is like, I want to say at least 3 out of the 4 that actually all 4 are transfers from from their original schools.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with that, you're kind of, for quarterback, I would say yes, but other positions, I mean, look at all the DBs that are coming in that are freshmen that are playing really well right now, like Finley.
Yeah, but you're also seeing a really heavy. It's being the transfer portal is heavy across all positions. I mean, it's actually, I'm going to err on the side of what Steve is saying here. I actually think it's going to get to the point where there's no reason to have freshmen. Like, let the freshmen go to smaller schools. I'm being serious. Like, if you could just buy starters across the board that have developed at other schools, and truthfully, because it's growing. I mean, we've got schools spending 28, 30, and that's $30 million a year that's going to grow. Like, what's the incentive to me? Like, for instance, I'll use Michigan as an example. Yeah, Michigan's a prime example. Think about the money they just spent, and we could say, "Oh, we don't know for sure," but I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume they spent some money to have to retain Underwood, right?
Yes.
Like, why spend that? Like, why spend that money if I can just go out and go give Sorsby $5 million for 1 year?
Yeah,
he's already started for 3 or 4 years. I know what I'm getting. Like, what's the incentive to me to go out and every year I'm gonna have to spend millions and millions of dollars and probably up the money that I'm giving him every single year to retain a guy like an Underwood or Washington from Maryland or the kid from Cal, or like, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, why wouldn't I just put that money into a veteran quarterback that's played 3 years, even if it is at a smaller program? But you know what? He went out and he threw 30 touchdowns. He's developed. I know what I'm getting. I think we're changing the landscape of how the game is recruited in general. Like but it benefits the players too. Like, Sorsby next year, probably not the best example, but we'll use Sorsby as an example because he's the one that we know got paid the most in the portal right now, is going to be a better player for having gone and taken the most money at Texas Tech. And it probably helps him get to the NFL easier. I know Texas Tech might not be the best example, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it helps the players as well just to go hone their craft and then jump right into the playoffs with somebody.
Mike, Sorsby's a prime example of what you're talking about too, because Like think of Underwood, for example. Everybody's like, oh, he had a terrible freshman year, but you ask any Michigan fan, and they're like, just let the guy develop, and he has endless talent. The ceiling is so high for him. But Sorsby, like sophomore year, he's starting in the Big Ten at Indiana. He didn't have a terrible season, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. There was room for growth. But I think Cignetti wanted Curtis Rourke to start. I think Sorsby saw the writing on the wall, so he transfers to Cincinnati. He has a great year at Cincinnati as a junior, has an even better year, throws for 27 touchdowns as a senior at Cincinnati, or maybe he redshirted at some point because he's considered a junior right now. But now he's getting $5 million. So you go from losing your position to Curtis Rourke a few years ago at Indiana to ending up at Texas Tech and making $5 million. So if these guys just have some time to develop, there is opportunity for them to make some money. There's opportunity for them to be a good college football quarterback. But it's like, how many of these guys are going to lose opportunities now because everybody's going to be hitting the portal and looking for that diamond in the rough, or maybe that home run at quarterback. It's just, college football is taking forever, and I feel bad for some of these kids because in recruiting, like when we were kids and a recruit came in, they had a chance to play early, or they had a chance to sit behind a veteran quarterback. There was opportunities to stay at the school that you were at, stay with the position coach that you were recruited by and develop as a player. Now it's, I don't know, it's instant gratification. It's, can you get that guy in the portal? Can they come in and benefit your team right away? And it's just unfortunate that these guys feel like they have to leave in order to hit the playing field, even though, when you get recruited, you're picking the school because you made a connection with that coach and you made a connection with the school. And keep in mind, like, these are 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids, 20-year-old kids. And yeah, they're getting paid like adults, professionals, but it still stinks that they have to move around like this and they can't stay at their dream schools.
Yeah.
Also, the frustrating part, could you imagine, like, I don't want to keep going back to Michigan, but it's the easiest example because we talk about them the most. Could you imagine, like, all the money that Michigan has not only invested in Underwood to obviously play for the team, to develop him, to actively keep him at the school? And let's just say they do that, this year wasn't that great. Next year, he takes a step forward. And then finally, that third year, you think you're getting the payoff where he's going to take that leap. And then all of a sudden, he ends up at, Texas because they gave him more money. But Michigan invested all that money into developing him. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I almost feel like, why even bother trying a freshman quarterback? Just go get the most expensive quarterback that your school can afford in the portal, and don't even waste your time on it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why a lot of teams, a lot of people hate Oregon, because they say, oh, we always get a finished product because we're always in the fucking transfer portal hitting.
You're smart.
But I mean, I know with the quarterbacks that transferred to us, they weren't always the greatest quarterbacks until.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say that, like, I mean, Dante Moore was a 5-star recruit, but
yeah,
like, everyone's like, he had a standout year at UCLA. He really didn't, in my opinion.
No,
he really didn't. Dylan Gabriel didn't have like a standout season, beforehand. Like, I think that they develop their guys.
Well, Bo Nix even. Bo Nix is not a first-round pick if he stays at Auburn.
No, absolutely not.
He had to go to Oregon.
Terrible there.
Yeah, he really developed. That says a lot about. Says a lot about Dan Lanning. It says a lot about Stein, right? That just went to Kentucky. Yeah. That those guys can develop players, and Stein's having actually a pretty good transfer portal at Kentucky. You never see the day that, or never thought we'd see the day that Kentucky was doing that. But let's move on because there's a few pressing subjects. Mike, today in our group text, you were asking about Dylan Raiola. I actually was scanning through Twitter today, actually tonight, and somebody posted that Dylan Raiola posted to his closest friends on Instagram, I guess, that he's at Syracuse right now. What's your thoughts on that?
Fran Brown, baby. What are my thoughts? I got nothing. You know what? I think I said to you the other day when we were talking is that, all these other jobs, these big, like, the Texas Tech one, I can go on. I have to look at my phone here just to see. We'll go over the same exercise. Texas Tech, the job's gone. Obviously, Sorsby got that. You've got, I'll even go to Auburn. You got Byron Brown took that job. Rocco Beck, Penn State. Josh Hoover, Indiana. You got Grunkemeyer going to Virginia Tech, it looks like. Minchie at, Kentucky. Like, all the jobs, Philo at Florida, all these big schools that he could have attended, all of them are drying up. And I haven't even seen a report of a visit until you just said that. Like, I didn't know that. Well, so I think it's just
going into next year? Is he going to be healthy going into next year?
I assume that he's going to be, yeah. But I mean, I think that there's I hate to be this way, but he's got a persona and he's obviously got an attitude. Is it worth even like these other schools have obviously not considered him? I'm surprised LSU hasn't reached out, but at the same time, why would they? You know, like why worth the headache and what have you? And it seems like him and his brother are a package deal. What do I think about Syracuse? I got to be honest with you. I don't think anything. Like I think that is if that's where he's ended up setting his sights because everything else is dried up. You know, maybe I said it the other day. He overplayed his hand. I think maybe he's not as profitable. He didn't show enough. And that's tough. That would be a really, really, really rough landing spot. Not that Nebraska is like this big world beater of a program, but like that'd be a really, really, that's not a soft landing spot. That's a crash and burn landing spot for him. I got nothing except laughter.
Yeah. The only thing that's promising for Syracuse, I know they signed a 5-star receiver, and at a school like Syracuse, I guess you can hit the field pretty early if you're a 5-star recruit and you do opt to go there. So maybe that's a little promising. He sees a connection with that. But yeah, let's look at the portal rankings right now. 2 teams I want to put us, well, Indiana and Texas Tech I eventually want to talk about. But first, I want to talk about Penn State and Oklahoma State because when Penn State fired James Franklin, their entire team felt like they were leaving. All their recruits left. Most of their roster's starting to leave now. Matt Campbell had a lot of ground to make up. And then Oklahoma State, the same thing happened where they lost all their guys. But Oklahoma State wasn't that great this year anyways to begin with. But if you look at 24/7, the 2 top teams right now are, and I don't know if it's because of how many players they brought in toward the portal, but their 2 top teams are Penn State and Oklahoma State. So these new coaches are doing a fantastic job recruiting in the portal. And give it to Matt Campbell, who brought in a guy like James Peoples from Ohio State, the running back. Like, he's not just going after Iowa State guys. He's going after, everyone in the portal. He's trying to build his roster. Yeah, most of his roster is going to be Iowa State studs like Marcus Neal, the safety, I know was a big one. They had, obviously, Rocco Beck was a big one. Who was the tight end that they just brought in? He was a big deal.
I'll tell you right now, I have it up.
It was Benjamin Brahmer, the tight end. He has a 94 grade in the transfer portal. So they brought him in. I don't see why it can't be a quick turnaround because Iowa State was like decent this year. They were in the top 25 for most of the season. I know we're going to laugh and say they were in the Big 12, but there's some talent coming over from Iowa State to Penn State. I don't know if you're going to see those dominant like 10-plus win teams that James Franklin had going, those playoff contenders next season. I don't see why Penn State can't win like 8 games next year, 9 games maybe next year. Especially they have a pretty favorable schedule in the Big Ten, all things considering. So they're in a pretty good position. The other team was Oklahoma State. Anytime you get a quarterback like Drew Mestamaker, you're putting yourself in a really good position. But they brought in that running back, Caleb Hawkins, who has a 94 grade in the transfer portal. He had like 1,800 scrimmage yards, I think, this year. But Mestamaker, like, what's your thoughts? What? I'm curious to see what you guys think. What is his feeling? Like, do you see this kid, like, if all goes right at Oklahoma State, can he develop into a first-round pick?
I mean, anything's possible, as we know, right? The one thing I'll say about it that is, like, stunning, so to speak, is, I mean, he was a walk-on, so he earned his stripes. I don't care if it was at Texas Tech, North Texas, in the American, like, he still was a walk-on and earned his stripes. I think it'll be very interesting how he develops. I think it's Oklahoma State. Like, I understand that. I'm pretty sure he followed his coach there. But I mean, like, it's an interesting fit. It's Big 12 football. Obviously, I love it. It's a great conference. But yeah, I mean, in wide open offenses like that, I mean, I could see him doing some damage. I could see him, he could end up developing one of these Big 12 quarterbacks that throws, 40, 50 touchdowns a season. I think he's that talented. I think he is, truthfully, I don't know his recruiting situation. He obviously loves his coach. I'm sure he got a nice payday. But I mean, if my thing is that he set his bar too low, honestly, like, I'm not even saying that jokingly, like,
or is he playing into a great situation of where he's playing in Big 12 defenses that the following year he gets a great payday?
Listen, again, that goes back to the previous conversation, right? Like, somebody else is going to invest in developing this guy. Yeah, could he be a first-round pick? Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you don't just, he reminds me of like the Baker Mayfield, story where he was a walk-on. I think he started as a redshirt freshman as well at Texas Tech and then moved on right? I think that's how it went with Baker. But yeah, I mean, anything could happen. I mean, he's super talented, ultra talented. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up, well, obviously we know where he ended up. Nice little soft landing spot with some soft defenses. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's a long, lengthy quarterback. He's not afraid to air it out. I just think the hope for this kid is he does really well at Oklahoma State, and all of a sudden he's a sleeper for, whenever he does opt to go into the draft. I don't think he can even. He's a sophomore next year, so it's at least 2 more years. By the time he has 3 years.
Wasn't he? He's redshirt, right?
Is he a redshirt freshman?
Yeah, he's a redshirt. Yeah.
Okay. Is he? So I thought he was just a true freshman.
No, I'm pretty sure. Irrelevant. Me and Steve had a argument. Just a side note, Trae Young was just traded.
Yeah, to the Wizards. Apparently that was his choosing. Like, he put Wizards on top of his list, so
is the worst star player in basketball.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe he gets traded to the Big 12. Maybe.
That's like going to the Big 12. To the Wizards.
He was Oklahoma at the time was Big 12, right? When he was there?
Yes.
What a chump.
They were.
What a chump. Anyway, back to football.
But regardless, like, he has a really good year under his belt. I think a lot of people were so impressed. I mean, he has a 98 grade on 24/7. I think he might be a 5-star recruit on 24/7, which is to jump from being a walk-on to being a 5-star transfer portal recruit is just like such an amazing story, like Mike said. But if he continues to do it in the Big 12, where BYU's looking like they're going to be good again, they retained a lot of their players. Texas Tech is having another great transfer portal, and they were just in the quarterfinals of the college football playoffs. So there are teams in the Big 12. I know that their conference is our punching bag on this podcast, but there are teams that, like, when you sit down and you watch Drew Mestamaker next year and you look back at his highlights, you're going to be like, let me rewind back to when he faced Texas Tech. Let me rewind back to when he faced BYU. Let me see how he held his own against those teams. I was really hoping North Texas would get into the playoff this year, because if we were really going to fall to the point where we were going to let teams like JMU and Tulane in, at least make it fun. Like, Drew Mestamaker was one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year. It would have been nice to see him against like some true competition this season, but we'll get the chance next year.
I mean, he should play Oklahoma too, right?
Did he play them this year?
He should play them if he's at Oklahoma State, right?
Have they continued that rivalry? That shows you how little I pay attention to the Big 12.
I think they still play that game. Yeah, Kevin's right. So Indiana, on the other hand, they're the other one having a really good.
They actually did not play this past year. The rivalry, they didn't. I don't know what happened there. They haven't played since 23.
Interesting. Maybe because it got so ugly. I mean, it wasn't much of a competition for a while. Yeah. And it's not one of those like rival games like Auburn, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, where if it's bad, they just because it's so heated that they still stay in it. Like, when Oklahoma State's bad, that rival game can be a 40-point blowout. So it's probably for the.
Oh yeah, so they don't play again until 2028.
Okay, so maybe Mestamaker will be there. No, that's too far ahead, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if he has another year like he did this year, next year, I have to assume that he'll start getting rumblings to come out this, next year. And let's just say he stays or transfers to actually like a real division. It would be, I think at that point he'd come out. So I don't see him being a redshirt senior. But then again, I don't know, with NIL money,
yeah,
maybe it makes more sense to stay. Actually, I was looking at that the other day where they were saying Shedeur Sanders, which isn't the best example, but Arch Manning this year in NIL and deals made $6.8 million. Shedeur Sanders' whole rookie deal is $4.1. So unless you're like guaranteed to be a first round pick for quarterbacks, it might end up making sense just to stay in school every year, regardless of your age.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I feel like you have to be like a first round talent in order to want to come out in the draft.
Yeah.
Unless like your school pushes you out, which is a good segue into Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
I feel like he's coming out because he's being forced out, not because he's ready, or because I'm sure he wants to, but he could have transferred if he really wanted to stay. But I don't think he's ready to come out. I think that he probably will get a potential first-round draft grade, and he just realizes that, one, it's going to get worse next year. Maybe he's a mid-first-round pick. I mean, to be fair, you never know how this goes. He could be a high first-round pick this year, whatever the situation is. But next year, I think he knows that he's probably that second or third tier of quarterback. I shouldn't say third tier. We'll say second tier behind, arguably Sayin and Arch Manning and, Sellers. I'm sure will get hype again. So I think that's why we're seeing Ty Simpson right now. The money just doesn't add up. It makes sense for him to leave.
Yeah. Ty Simpson, if this is old school college football, he's probably staying in college. And this is where you lose the innocence of college football, because take Ty Simpson, for example, a kid who probably could start it at a lot of other schools his first few years. Maybe not his freshman year, but at least his sophomore year, because he was a junior this year. But he decides to ride it out because he loves Alabama. He wants to be at the school. But he had Jalen Milroe in front of him for 2 years, and they seemed to favor him. But then he comes in, and he had a pretty good season. But, what was defining for his season were, like, those few bad weeks that he had. And that's what everybody's remembering. And with good reason, because it shows that there are areas that he needs to develop. And another season in college really could have helped him. But the fact that I think Alabama's ready to move on to, is it Keelan Russell, right, is the freshman?
Yeah, but I'm honestly not sure, because they went with, what's-his-face in the playoff. I can't think of his name offhand. Keelan Russell should be the next guy. I mean, he's a 5-star, highest, what was he in? He was same grade as Underwood. Like, yeah, I mean, if they don't play him, I'm surprised he hasn't entered the transfer portal. So, yeah, it should be Keelan Russell based off of talent, but, you never know with them.
I think Russell made a post that he was staying. This is all assumption. It could be because they were down by, like, close to 30 points, and they were like, we're not going to throw our freshman quarterback in this situation. Let's give him a fresh start next year. I know I was listening to Bussin' with the Boys, and Josh Pate does a weekly episode with them, and he said, and this was right before Ty Simpson declared, he's like, if I had to put my money on it, Keelan Russell is the starting quarterback for Alabama next year. So I think a lot of signals point towards Russell being the guy.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe DeBoer likes the other kid. Maybe he wants the more experienced kid, but because I know that the other one was a freshman, or not a freshman, a sophomore, excuse me. But going back to Ty Simpson, there was a report by, is it Pete Nakos? I forget who the On Three.
Yeah, it's Nakos.
Nakos said that there was like 7 schools that were ready to pounce on Ty Simpson if he hit the portal, and he's getting Sorsby money if he hits the portal. He's getting more than that, maybe. You got to.
I was about to say, it'd be hard not to make him the top quarterback in the portal. Being honest, like, I don't know if it's, maybe they have, but I don't know if there's been a perfect grade on a quarterback in the portal. Simpson would be that guy. Mm-hmm. He'd be above all these guys, and I think it'd be pretty handedly.
Yeah, I agree. Simpson, he earned it by, like, the gauntlet that he went through in the SEC this season when they went on that 4 or 5 game winning streak over top 25 schools. He did look good during that stretch, but Again, I think people are remembering the SEC championship game. They're remembering the Indiana game where he left early with the fractured rib. And it does, like, the writing's on the wall. He's going into the draft for 2 reasons. I don't think he wanted to leave Alabama. I think he was kind of shown the door in some ways. Thank you for your service, but we're ready to move on to, a younger quarterback at this point. But also, I think he sees what potentially next year's draft could be. And if he has another season where he looks good at moments, but then he doesn't look good at moments, then, like, maybe he's not getting a first-round grade. And, Mike, you talk about this all the time. Like, look at Allaire, look at Nussmeier. I was drawing a blank on his name. He's not relevant
anymore. Yeah. Allaire, I'm going to, with him is like, will you go back? Actually, it's a tale of 2 things, right? Like, I'm glad you brought that up. Allaire's you come back when you have that first-round grade, you get hurt, it's over. There's nothing you could do.
Yeah.
And then with Nussmeier, it's you come back and you just play bad, and there's nothing you can do. And the same thing with Klubnik, though. Klubnik's in the same boat. Could have came out last year, probably a first-round pick. Comes back, plays bad. Well, the whole team plays bad, but plays bad. I think Simpson's probably realizing that this is a perfect storm, and someone is going to fall. Like, I want to make this very clear. Someone's going to fall in love with him in the NFL. And I think he's going to find himself as a higher first-round pick than we think. I want to make that clear. What?
I got a prediction for him.
Yeah, well, you could do that when you talk.
The Rams.
Yeah, someone's going to fall in love with him. Someone's going to draft him high in the first round, and it's going to be worth it. Next year, like I said, I hate doing this whole, next year's class is going to be better, because this year's class was supposed to be that, trend-setting, compete with the Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams class, and it just wasn't. Same thing could happen next year, but in theory, if it hits right, you'll have Sayin there, you're going to have Arch Manning there. If Lenore Sellers can figure out how to play football. He probably will be there. You're going to have guys like, truthfully, some of these transfer guys, like, you could have a Sorsby who, if he has a really strong year, Hoover at Indiana could ascend, Leavitt. Like, you could be talking about a really transcendent class. And where would Ty Simpson fit in that? I know we just said that had he entered the transfer portal, he would be the top guy. And I feel that way. But I don't think he can overtake a guy like Sayin or even Arch Manning, who I'm not the biggest, fan. I think a lot of what he gets is name value, but his physical ability, like, he just doesn't stack up like that. He's not a better, I shouldn't say this, but it's too soon, but I will say it for now. He's not a better passer of the football than Julian Sayin. He's not more athletic than an Arch Manning. I think I've said it in the past, he should go back. This situation, I think, might be right. I think we might have been wrong. I think it's just better for him to come out right now.
Let's hear your prediction, Kev.
I think it's going to be the Rams.
Dude,
Stafford.
You stole my.
Getting older.
You stole it right out of my. I've been thinking that for probably the past week now.
Stafford might have another year under his belt to groom him a little bit. So,
also, to be fair, I'm just saying he still could be the guy for the Jets. I'm not saying I want him, but he very well could be the guy for the Jets. If the Jets want to get hairy with it, they certainly could trade that second pick to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals move up. I don't want Kyler Murray back, but you could collect picks and then still get a guy if you think he's the guy.
Hold on. I just got to say something. You're the one that always tells me you're about accumulating picks and bullshit.
I just said could. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, well, you're the one always saying you always want to accumulate picks.
Listen, at the end of the day, we're going to see what happens. You would trade. You'll be. Here's a little tidbit on Kevin. The Jets could have like the 24th pick in the draft. You're like, we could trade back.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a pick.
People actually do because they want that 5th year option near the end of the second round.
No, we're good in this situation. But I'm just saying, like, I think Simpson, going back to Simpson, is going to rise and be a guy that, I think he could, I don't want to say sneak. It's going to be, obviously we know we kind of know the hierarchy of the class is going to be. We know it's in some order more Mendoza, and then who's competing with Simpson back there? Nobody. He's in a, he's probably that next tier quarterback, or they might view him as in that tier. I think it's a good move, and also because there's more quarterback needy teams than we realize.
Are you saying Dante's not? You're not including Dante in there?
Who did I say? Fernandez. I said Fernandez. Did I say? Did I? No, I said Mendoza and Moore.
Fernandez.
Yeah, Fernandez and Mendoza. Yeah, no, Moore is, like I said, for some reason I feel like Moore is going to end up being beloved by the Raiders and go 1, which as a Jet fan, perfect. But yeah, I'm interested. I think Simpson ends up somehow finding his way into the top 10. I think the Rams would be a great place because he would truly get to develop. To be fair, the Rams would be great for any quarterback. Yeah. Just to be clear.
Yeah,
it would be a Packers situation.
Yep.
It would be like Aaron Rodgers under Favre. It'd be like Rodgers and what's his name?
Love. Yeah, Love.
Why am I having a brain fart? Love being able to sit a few seasons. That would be perfect for a player like Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I agree.
He can adjust
the
speed of the game. You know what wouldn't be perfect for Ty Simpson, because there are several teams in front that might look at a quarterback. We never know. The Browns, it depends how in love the new coach is with Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. And the other team is the Miami Dolphins, who look like they're done with Tua Tagovailoa. Do they really want Quinn Ewers to be the future of their franchise? I don't think so. So there's a good chance that you could be seeing Ty Simpson going as early as pick 11.
They still got Zach Wilson there, though.
Actually, isn't he a free agent this year?
I thought he signed a 2-year. I don't know.
Who cares? Yeah, that would be less than ideal because then you're looking at Simpson's playing right away. If he ends up with either one of those teams, he's starting day one. To be fair, I don't think any of these quarterbacks in this class should be starting day one. I think we probably all can agree on that. Like, I think they all need to develop in some way. If you were going to start one of them, I think we'd all agree that it's probably Mendoza. But even then, I think Mendoza needs to sit for a little bit. I kind of look at Mendoza like I looked at Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a pro prospect. I think he'll be a decent quarterback, but he needs some time to develop. And we kind of saw what happened with the Titans this year. I'd hate to see that happen to Mendoza. So, or Moore or Simpson at all. I think that Simpson's best bet is he has to find a way to get on that Rams team. I don't. When that interview comes along, you lie through your teeth, brother. Just make it happen.
I want to give you another scenario.
Boy,
don't sleep on it right now. Just let it resonate. Let it hang out for a little bit.
Let it ferment.
Yeah, exactly. But Now that John Harbaugh has moved on, or he was fired, say the Baltimore Ravens do look to trade Lamar Jackson. This is where the draft could get tricky because there are quarter teams ahead of the Baltimore Ravens who are sitting at 14th overall right now in the draft, or not 14th overall at number 14. There are teams that I'm sure would maybe take a risk at. I don't know if you can even call it a risk. I guess after the season he had and the injury.
You're saying give up their future for a 2-time MVP?
Yes, I think one of the Raiders, the Jets, maybe even the Browns. Who else is up there? I don't
They
know.
wouldn't trade.
I'm going to be honest
trade
with
the
you.
Browns.
Realistically, the only team, if they were looking to move Lamar Jackson right now, let's just say hypothetically,
They're only calling the
Ravens. They're only calling the Jets, and I'll go a step further. Let's say Cincinnati, who I don't agree with, but it seems like it's just hung around all year. That Burrows, both those teams are calling the Jets and saying we'll take your 5 first-round picks. And if I'm the Jets, you asked me earlier, I don't think you can say no.
I don't think so either.
I don't know how you say no.
I don't personally. I feel like I saw a tweet though about the Ravens and they're wanting to find a coach to pair with Lamar. So I don't think they're blowing that up all the way. So I think it'll be, if anyone gets traded, I would say it's Burrow.
Yeah, but even then, like if you're the Jets, hypothetically, let's all play this out. We're sitting in a boardroom right now saying who we're going to pick the first round. Mora Mendoza, who's it going to be? And Cincinnati calls us and says, hold on, guys. Wait a minute. What if, hypothetically, Joe Burrow became a New York Jet and you guys send us 5 first-round picks? Can all of us be like, no, that's stupid? No, we're all going to be like, oh, boy. Like,
I think especially
anybody you draft is not going to be better than him. And even if you did draft somebody, what are the odds they become as good as him?
Mike.
Yeah.
I'm hard on the Jets. You know this by now. But I will say this. Good quarterback play this year might get you 500, maybe better.
Yeah,
I got to say this. If they don't get a competent quarterback this year, I know this isn't an NFL podcast, but it's becoming one right now. If the Jets do not get a competent quarterback, they lose Garrett Wilson next year. That is my prediction.
Yeah, I'd be very upset.
And then what do the Jets have? The Jets have nothing then.
Yeah, that's not good. Breece Hall will be gone. Garrett Wilson will be gone. They'll lose their entire team, and then it's a rebuild. But you got to save that because the Jets are in a position right now, even after trading Sauce Gardner, where I think you're only a few pieces away. Like you get a quarterback in there, like you could be like the Patriots in 1 or 2 seasons. You could be back in the thick of things. So
now here's my thing. I'm going to put it on you guys now. Both Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow are available.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take 5 first-round picks. You have to trade for one. Which one's it going to be?
Joe Burrow. I'll tell you why, because you guys froze for a second. I feel like you guys are...
No, Kevin didn't answer. Kevin didn't freeze. Kevin didn't answer.
I'm very up in the air because I love both.
I'll tell you why Burrow real quick. You keep Burrow healthy. Look at his stats when he plays the full season. The guy is easily one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he can stand up, right? But because
he's shown in the playoffs too.
Yeah,
he's made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he brought them to the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, I hate to say this, but there has been instances where he's choked under the pressure in the playoffs. Burrow, I think there's 2 things that the Jets can provide him. They have a young offensive line with several big pieces on that line, and their defense for a stretch looked very strong after they traded Sauce Gardner. So that's 2 things that Burrow never had. Like he never had an offensive line. He never had a good defense on the Bengals. Yeah, you're taking away Jamar Chase and you're taking away.
Yeah, but could you imagine what he'd turn Garrett Wilson into?
Yeah, exactly.
I think we'd be talking about him like he is Jamar Chase if you get Joe Burrow. But again, I don't know. Is 5 now I'm thinking about it as you're saying it. Is 5 first-round picks enough to get it done? Like, I know that sounds crazy to say. I'm just being honest. Because, there's nothing stopping Joe Burrow, from – I think we all agree that he has the talent to rip off 2, 3 MVPs. If he stays healthy and with the right pieces. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. How do you put a value on MVP play? Even with Lamar Jackson and a perennial top 5 quarterback. I think these are probably not realistic things, but – if I'm the Jets or let's go, if I'm one of those teams, I'm calling the Jets just to see if they're willing to do it. And if I'm the Jets, how do I say no? It's not going to happen, but it would be really hard not to.
Kev, what's your pick though? I don't think we got to hear it.
I do love Lamar. I feel like he does. They're both injury plagued, so it's hard. But I would probably say Burrow just because I feel like what Freck said. If Garrett gets Burrow, he's talked about as like a Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Burrow as well, simply because I trust Burrow to throw the ball 50 times a game more than I trust Lamar. But I will say that Lamar has much more facet to his game in terms of like, you know, he's got the running ability. You know, Lamar typically only throws the ball 20 times a game and still throws for 300 yards. But previous to him getting hurt this year, and things kind of looked a little weird there. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you go wrong either way.
That's the thing, Mike. Sorry to jump in there, but Burrow, like when he comes back, or he did come back, like you know what you're going to get out of Burrow when he comes back from the injury. With Lamar Jackson, what really scared me and what would, you know, be intimidating as an owner, because if you mess this up, you're not an owner, a general manager. If you mess this up, you're like your position's on the line. Like if I'm sending 5 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson after the season he just had, where he was injured,
you better be right.
Injured twice, but he also, a big facet of his game. Yes, he's improved his passing game so much over the past few seasons, and that's why he's an MVP caliber quarterback. But you also did love that he could get you 800 plus rushing yards in past seasons, and he refused to run the ball this season. And I don't know if it's because he was playing hurt the entire season and maybe he came back early, but that would be a little, you know, sketchy to me. Is like, are we getting the Lamar Jackson who's just one dimensional now? Because if you get a one-dimensional Lamar Jackson, is he the best quarterback in the league? Probably still, like a top 5 quarterback in the league?
Yeah, I think he's probably safely a top 5. I mean, you don't accidentally win 2 MVPs. So he's probably still a top 5 guy. But it kind of takes away that mystique, so to speak, of like, you know, what makes him so dangerous. And also, to be fair, if they know he can't run, let's say as he ages, I'm not saying he'll probably still continue to progress as a passer, but like if you know Lamar Jackson can't run, that means you can play the passing lanes more than you currently can, right? Like, you know, so I don't know. I think when you look at it that way, I don't know. You can't go wrong either way, but Burrow's probably the better fit because Burrow's going to dissect your passing lanes either way. Also, to go a step further, though, I just want to throw this out there that, one, for both quarterbacks, in Burrow's situation, this would be the best offensive line Burrow's ever played behind, which is wild to say. If you think about that, maybe not, you know, obviously he'd lose T. Higgins, but, you know, this would be the best offensive line he ever played behind. And for Lamar Jackson, I can't believe I'm about to say this. This would be the most talented receiving group he's ever played with. It sickens my stomach that I have to say that to you. That's how much better Garrett Wilson is than all the guys in that room, that this would be the best receiving room he's ever played in. So, like, both quarterbacks would benefit, so to speak, I think. But again, I think this is all hypotheticals. I would be shocked if we wake up one morning and they're like, oh my God, this is what happened. But if I'm the Jets, I can't say no. I'd rather take my chance and give up my picks. And if I'm a GM and I know my job's on the line, which I don't think that is the case here, but let's say it is, how do you not go with the guys that are proven commodities? You have to. Like, I wouldn't even waste my time on Mendoza, Moore, or Simpson. I would just be like, sorry, I got Joe Burrow at 28 years old or Lamar Jackson at 28 years old. Yeah.
That's
okay, I'm in.
It's not Aaron Rodgers this time. It's 2 guys that are still in their 20s. So
yeah, and you got to assume you're going to get at least, again, in a perfect world, you're going to get at least 10 more years out of them. Like, yeah.
If this was the Bengals offensive line, then Joe Burrow might pull Andrew Luck and just leave the NFL. But now this might give him a fresh breath of air, like a lifeline almost, and he'll be able to last in the NFL because he has a competent offensive line. You know what's fascinating? I was looking through the first round. The first 3 picks could be quarterbacks, actually. Like, the Raiders, Jets, and Cardinals could all make a case for needing a quarterback. So imagine that. Imagine, like, after us thinking Fernando Mendoza for a while was going to be the only quarterback in this draft, we see Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, and Ty Simpson all go 1 through 3 in this draft. And that might be Ty Simpson's thinking. Maybe the Cardinals are going to pick him. Who knows? Hopefully he lands.
I think he's going to find his. I'm telling you, he's going to. I know a lot of us kind of beat him up, and we actually talked about it here where we didn't. You know, he went from being a first round pick to, I think we even said like a second or third. I don't think that's realistic. I think if you're probably looking at 3 quarterbacks now, back to back to back. It's just what order they go in. I think it's safe to assume Simpson will be the 3rd quarterback. But yeah, I think that's probably what we're looking at. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a riser. I still stand by what I said. If Carson Beck continues to play well, do we get 4 quarterbacks in the first round? And does it kind of take that stink off this draft, so to speak? I think it probably would. So yeah, I mean, this just became a very interesting NFL draft. It went from being a weak class, which I'm sure it's still viewed that way, to like now it's got some rhythm to it, something looking at it. And I hate using that term weak draft class because Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese would be top 2 top 1 players in any other draft class too. Just to be clear, I hate the term weak draft class, but just throwing that out there.
Yeah, Caleb Downs, Parnell Tate, they just declared, so they'll definitely be top 10. This
Which actually I think is a more interesting thing. Who goes first, Tate or Tyson?
Yeah, that's
Actually, to be fair, this probably directly affects you more than it affects anybody else. Is the Giants are probably that first pick where a receiver probably goes, and who do they take? Do they take Tyson or Tate? Both very good players, both offering 2 very different abilities. I think that's a very compelling thing to look at.
Is it fair to say Tate and Tyson are kind of similar to what Mendoza and Moore, the argument is with those two? Like, I think Tate, you throw in there and you get a Guka type season right away where he's like an instant contributor to a team. I could see Tyson just being more of a raw project where, I don't know, where he would have to find his way into the offense. It might take a season or 2, but I think he could be a very good receiver.
Yeah, I think that Tyson probably has more question marks.
Yeah.
But like, if you told me, and I hate, you know how I feel about projecting. I hate projecting, but I know it's a huge part of the process. If you told me to project who like has that superstar ability, it's probably Tyson.
Yeah.
Like I would probably say it's Tyson. I'm not a Giants fan, as you know you are. If I was picking between the two, I'd probably go Tate, just because I've got my superstar on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I understand it doesn't hurt to have 2, but you're telling me I could plug Tate in there right now with Malik Neighbors, and then I got, Wendell Robinson or Slayton or something in the middle. Like, I don't know. I just think it works. There's more rhythm to it. Tyson kind of plays a lot like Neighbors does. Just like if the Jets were in that situation, I would probably take Tate over Tyson because Tyson plays kind of like Garrett Wilson does, So, I would probably say Tate. But that argument's very good. Moore versus Mendoza. I think it's very fair to say the same thing here. But, I would probably take Tate personally.
I think the Giants have their superstar. You kind of a new man along with them, and Parnell Tate's perfect for that. The only thing with the Giants is Malik Neighbors in an interview the other day said his knee injury was a lot worse than he thought it was, which I'm laughing because that's a nervous laugh because, like, what does that mean for the future of Neighbors? You hope and knock on wood that he comes back and he's the player that he was before that. I hope there's no, hesitant play from him now because, the best part of his game was his ability to just make things happen that other receivers can't do in the league. Those jump balls, those acrobatic catches, everything that Neighbors does that makes him so special. But we'll see.
Isn't that what happened with? I forget, to be honest with you. Isn't that kind of what happened with OBJ? It was like an injury that kind of sapped up that extra athleticism that he to make the to outrun people or outjump them. That's what happened with him with the Giants, was it not? Similar situation.
I think it was more Didn't he get? I thought he got injured on the Browns.
I think he's gotten injured everywhere. He tore his Achilles with the Rams. I think he got hurt with the Browns too. But I was trying to remember the situation, how it played out with the Giants.
I thought he had an ankle with the Giants too, though.
Yeah. He signed the contract with the Giants, the extension. Everybody thought he was going to stay, and then they traded him. To me, it was definitely injuries piled up, but also the change of scenery. I don't think he ever wanted to be in Cleveland, and the interest for football just started to fade away in some ways. So I guess it's a coin flip between those two for Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I thought it was an injury that kind of sapped up his ability a little bit with the Giants, and then obviously there were other issues involved that led to them moving on. But yeah, I don't know. I probably, Neighbors is so young, truthfully. Is he even 22 yet?
I don't know his age.
Yeah, he's so young, and I have to assume that he's even if it's worse than what we think, I think he probably bounces back. Does it affect him down the road? Maybe, a couple years down the road, it catches up to him. Sure, potentially could be that, but I assume that he's going to come back strong. I fully expect that.
Yeah.
I know it was a bad knee injury, though. I think it was every ligament in the knee was torn up.
It was everything you don't want to happen to your knee, but
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah, let's wrap this up. At least the portal and draft stuff, because we're going to be getting heavy into the draft in the coming months. But just before we move on, a few big names are still out there. Cam Coleman, I just want to throw this out there. Really good receiver. I'm curious to see where he ends up. Another name is Coy Parrish. I don't know if you saw the safety from Minnesota. And that's another innocent college situation where the kid returned last year because he loves Minnesota. It's his home state. And now he's hitting the portal because he knows he can make money. Chaz Coleman's still out there, but I think he's going to go to Ohio State. Actually, Coy Parrish is probably going to go to Oregon, by the way, Kev.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I've heard. I think he had a visit with Texas Tech though too.
He did, yeah, but he's also. I think he's visiting Oregon afterwards. That's a good
Probably,
sign,
yeah.
guys, because
Hey, I just want to point this out real quick because I haven't had the opportunity to do it, so I'm going to do it right now. Hey, remember when all those people killed us on TikTok for being wrong, or saying we were wrong about Texas Tech? And, listen, we were wrong about Miami, but we weren't wrong about Texas Tech. Baron Morton is horrible. He spent $28 million on a roster and got ass whooping. Did they score a point against Oregon? Hold on.
Nope.
Did they score a point? No. They got the big goose egg. That's what $28 million got you. A zero.
was it a 0?
It was 0. 26-0. Or 24.
You know what's embarrassing? Did Tulane score in their game?
They did, yeah,
I think they did. Yeah, did JMU score in their game?
100%.
Oh, that's weird. That's awkward.
That was the argument that the JMU receiver was making.
So maybe we had it wrong. Maybe it wasn't that we were upset that the Sun Belt put teams in. Maybe we should have been upset that the Big 12 sent teams.
Nick Gennaro, or D. Gennaro, from JMU was tweeting like crazy when Texas Tech was taking belt to the ass against Oregon.
Yep, they literally looked like. So listen, I'll give a little bit of credit. Is the defense looked every bit of the money you guys spent. If you guys spent any money on offense, I'd ask for a return. I want a receipt. I want to exchange what I got because I didn't get what I paid for. Just gonna be honest here.
Honestly, I don't even think Sorsby would have done a lot better, but
I'm not saying he would have. It's Big 12 football, baby. This is what you get. A 0. The real representative of the conference. But all those people on TikTok that went on and said, "Oh, I'm going to save this video." Well, guess what? I got receipts, bitch.
Forgot that you had to give your little speech. You're out for blood now.
Oh, God. Listen, I'll tell you what. And I don't even know why. I'm going to admit this. Is that I puckered a little bit after I talked all that crap. I puckered a little bit. I was like, oh, my God, if Oregon gets beat, I'm going to take a flight to Florida. I'm going to whoop Kevin's ass. That's going to happen. I don't even know why I was worried because, you know what, Texas Tech, their defense showed up. They got off the plane. They showed up to play. The offense stayed back in Texas.
Can I get?
And you know what? All I'm going to say is, like I said, people wanted to kill us for the Miami take. That was universal. Everybody thought Miami was going to lose. We've been steadfast on Texas Tech and the Big 12 being bad since the season began.
Oh, yeah.
And I was right. And
so
all these people on the TikTok, go look at our video at the TikTok. I'll have Steve pin it for you so you can find it, you big losers. That people said, oh, I'm going to save this video. We're going to come back to this in a couple weeks. Guess what? I'm back.
Are you aware of awful announcing? So
awful announcing.
Look up awful announcing. People also, they often bookmark takes that people make, especially on like radio and podcasts, and they go back to it in the future. This season, Texas Tech had no shot. Like we knew it the whole time. I'm gonna hopefully we're not kicking ourselves a year from now because they have Sorsby now. They have a quarterback who can actually throw the ball.
Yeah, but they lost a bunch of that defense.
Yeah, they did. I was gonna say that was my one if they do bring back a competent defense, a strong defense next year. Then
and they're losing Rodriguez too.
Yeah, Rodriguez. Who's the DN that's supposed to go in the first round?
Bailey. I think it's Bailey, right?
Bailey looked so good against Oregon. He was one of their bright spots for Texas Tech. I want to also go on a little bit of a rant before we make our picks. Just 2 minutes. I want to say karma is very real, and that's for you Ohio State fans, because after the Michigan game, Ohio State fans came for Michigan's throats. They said that Michigan is broken now. They all of a sudden forgot about the past 4 seasons where Michigan just embarrassed Ohio State, and they go on to lose the Big Ten championship game, and then they lose to Miami in the quarterfinal, and now they're losing talent left and right in the portal, and two of their star players enter the NFL draft. It's not looking good for Ryan Day and crew, and Brian Hartline's going off to South Florida. Karma is real. And when I was reading through the Sharon Moore news when it first broke, the first fans that came out, more so than Michigan fans, were Ohio State fans laughing at the proud University of Michigan. So just be careful. Be careful, because now you're in a position where Indiana is going to be king of the Big Ten. Oregon's not going to be too far behind next season, probably. And who knows, with the talent that Michigan is retaining, might just be a one-year wonder for Ohio State beating them in the game. So watch out, Ohio State fans. Be careful with you. They do, and they still have Julian Saying coming back. So
yep. Hold on. I told you boys, it took me a minute. I got receipts. So we put up a video about, we'll call it Big 12 slander. I'll have Steve pin it. Mr. BYU fan. Make a cool video about how OSU is better than BYU and any level that the CFP committee can look at. I'll wait, Mr. BYU fan.
I just marked the clip so that we can have this.
Hold on a minute. Mr. Zach, he doesn't have a last name.
Go on.
No picture. Tell me you don't watch the Big 12 without telling me. Check all the advanced analytics and you'll find that Tech, BYU, and Utah all ranked in the top 15. Okay? Hold on. We got more. Mr. Corey Pickett. This is my favorite one. Bookmarking this for the future. Future's here, bitch.
Short and sweet.
CD Johnson, 611. Do you not see how good Tech is playing? I don't, actually. They got one of these. That's actually their asshole after Oregon was done.
They're using their NIL money and going on vacation right now.
Yeah, no, it's Texas Tech here is user 674239. So they're not even a person. They're not even a real person. Texas Tech can compete with any of those teams. That, in fact, was a lie.
That's for sure.
So that's Mike's Cozy Corner for the day.
Texas Tech who?
Texas Tech is, like I said, go back and spend all that Texas oil money, and it got you absolutely diddly. You got to say you were in the playoff. You didn't even score a point. So does that mean you were there?
There's no consolation prizes. Sorry.
No, for Texas Tech fans there are. They're not even the best Texas school. Texas would have did better in the playoff than Texas Tech.
They have the same praise that JMU and Tulane have. Just by winning their sorry conference, they were able to make the playoff.
But those two teams, you know what? JMU put up 30 on Oregon.
Yeah, but they also lost. Their only major school was Louisville, and they got beat pretty bad against Louisville during the regular season. So there was an argument that JMU shouldn't have been there. But
they still put up 30 against Oregon. What again? Texas Tech, Big 12. Ooh, Big 12. We're catching up.
Couldn't do it.
You know what happens when a Big 12 school catches up? They leave the conference and go to a real one.
Yeah, there was a point in time in history that Big 12
2006.
Yeah, they had Oklahoma, they had Texas.
When was actually? I got to look that up.
That was around the time when probably Michael Crabtree was on Texas Tech. That was exciting. Those times were
that year was good.
More exciting times than this time.
And to be fair, you know what? If it wasn't for the way that Big 12 fans act, and I'm not saying specifically one school or the other,
right? They
all suck. All the fan bases suck. But the way that they act and carry on about we're just as good, you're not. I'm happy that you were 6-1 against the ACC. Miami would have trumped you guys in the playoffs too. And I don't even like Miami.
I'm gonna put one thing out on here. Who had one thing that was able to say to Freck?
Yeah.
Good call, Freck, you bitch.
I accept that. You know what? I was wrong about Miami, but to be fair, I went with the consensus. And to be fair, Mr. Robert, who in that clip said that, also agreed with everything I said in the lead up to the game.
All right, lead up to the game. Let's start doing our picks. We got the college football playoffs. That was Mike's mic drop. It's weird saying, isn't it? Mike's mic drop, but he dropped the mic on the Big 12. But yeah, so we're recording this on Wednesday. The games are Thursday. We're gonna have this episode out on Thursday, leading into the game. So listen to it. If anything, listen for our portal talk. If you're a betting man, you're gonna want to hear this. So Old in Miami, the first game up, just a total curveball because I think everybody thought they were going to see Ohio State versus Georgia. But nonetheless, a really exciting matchup. Because actually, Kevin, you heard me before we started recording. I said I'm really excited about this matchup. So
yeah,
I'm not kidding. I am looking forward to this game because this, first off, the Ole Miss versus Georgia game was probably my game of the year. I was sitting there telling myself, and I think I texted you guys at some point. I was like, I hope this game never ends. I'm happy.
You literally said it. We both responded. We both want to go to bed.
Yeah. I'm sitting there like, let's go, pumped up, and you guys are half asleep. But I had so much fun watching that game. I don't know what it was about it, but it brought back the magic of football. There weren't too many games like that this season for me. I had fun watching my Michigan team. There were several other top 25 matchups, but this game, I don't know what the magic of Chambliss in this game. Two teams going back and forth. They left it all on the field. You could tell that both teams wanted it. They wanted to move on. And of course, that's a cliche statement. Every team probably wants to move on, but you could just see from the Georgia players leaving after the game, in tears, looked like they were exhausted. These teams battled it. It was just a straight back and forth boxing match in this game. So that's Ole Miss's story, how they got there. They beat Tulane in the first round too to get to the quarterfinal matchup. For Miami, just so many question marks after the Texas A&M game, and they seemed to answer them during the quarterfinal. They beat Ohio State, who a lot of people had Ohio State as their favorite in this playoff bracket, and they won the champs. They champs. And their defense looked fantastic at the end. They had Julian Sain uncomfortable in the pocket. They pretty much, Carson Beck returned to the spotlight again because while we said his game against Texas A&M wasn't great, he showed a lot of guts in this game against Ohio State, and he showed he could run the ball too. And Mark Fletcher, to me, is a beast. I know he had the fumble against Ohio State, but he had another strong game. So, Miami's looking pretty good going into the semifinal matchup. By the way, our guy Todd McShay, he picked Miami to win 2 games even before the playoffs started when he was doing his bracket. So he knows ball. But what do you guys got? What's your predictions for this game?
So specifically this game, I am actually going to pick Miami, not because of Rob. But I'm going to go with Miami here. I just think that they cleared their biggest hurdle so far. Obviously, a huge hurdle. And Beck is playing exceptional for what he's needed to do. I know he's not putting up these gaudy stats or anything like that, but he's playing very efficient, good football. He's doing what needs to be to win the game. The running game for Miami has absolutely surprised me. I'm so impressed. They're putting it together. And the defense, I don't know what it is. All it took was me to insult Ruben Bain saying that pressures mean nothing. It's all about sacks. And he was like, hold my beer. And he went out and he started getting some sacks. I think this is probably a perfect matchup for Miami. I think it's going to be a good game. And I wouldn't say that I'm super confident in saying Miami's going to win this game, but they're my pick. I don't know, man. Chambliss is like, he reminds me of in the way he plays is Johnny Manziel. Like, you never know. He's going to operate outside of structure, and it scares the hell out of me. But I think that Miami's defense, especially with the way Bain is playing right now, if he continues to play this way, and the other guy on the other side, his name escapes me. Yeah, incredible. So that's my pick, Miami.
Yeah, I think I feel like it's hard. It's almost hard to not pick Ole Miss just because of I feel like they're trying to prove to Lane Kiffin like why the hell did you leave? So I mean, I'm kind of up in the air, but like Frank said, the Miami running game has stepped up so much. I feel like they might take the air out of Chambliss, like the ball out of Chambliss' hands, and just run the ball down Ole Miss's throat. So I think I'll go with Miami, but I think I think it might even have a better game than the Georgia Ole Miss game. So
yeah, it's a strong matchup.
That's really big to say. That game, like Steve said, is probably
it.
You know how hard it's going to be to top that game.
Yep. Hey, just as long as they don't have the people bringing out the stage every 5 seconds.
True. That did happen. I forgot about that. As long as we don't have a blowout, I'm okay. I just want close games for the semifinals because I feel like last year Ohio State just like ran through the competition and it wasn't even close the whole time. So yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, it's just such a magical story. It's the Cinderella run. Golden is doing an incredible job not filling in as the head coach, being the permanent head coach. All the adversity with the coaches going back to LSU, and then now they're back with the team. I think is it Charlie Weiss Jr., right, is the offensive coordinator, and then
yeah, but he never left. He never went back to all the other assistants went back to LSU, and he never left. And I love drama, so I kind of in my head I kind of hope Ole Miss wins because how do you let this guy go? You got to try and keep him. You have to.
Yeah, it's a rooting. Not like I know we're not supposed to be biased. It's a rooting interest in Ole Miss in this game. I think you want to see that run after adversity hit, after the coaches are going. Weiss has stayed, but then I think the running back coach went to LSU for like 24 hours and then came back, and maybe several other coaches did that. I'm not too sure of the complete story, but between Kiffin leaving, the coaching drama, not knowing how this Division II product that has impressed all season was gonna do once you get the bright lights were on him in the playoffs and he just came out and balled out. It's such a good story, but I've been saying this for weeks now. Outside of like Cristobal's coaching, I think that Miami has the most talented roster next to Ohio State. Like they were the 2 talented rosters in this bracket, and I like what Miami's doing right now. Like Mike said, they figured out the running game. I think they figured out just give the ball to Fletcher. I don't know why they didn't do it the entire season. And if Beck plays the way he did in the last game, I don't see how you can't pick Miami. And this defense is just rolling. They're a scary group. I do think Chambliss has a little more ice in his veins than Sayin. Maybe because it was Sayin's like first true. I don't know. December served as his first true competition, I think, this season outside of the Texas game in week 1. But like the Indiana, Miami, like it was a different story for him. Maybe we'll see a Chambliss. He looked really confident against Georgia, so maybe it will be different. But I don't see how Ole Miss can beat Miami, in my opinion. So I'm picking Miami in this game as well. And actually, pick here. If Miami wins this game, I think they might be in a good position to just win it all at that point.
As long as they don't, you better hope Indiana gets knocked off because Mendoza's on like a tribal quest out there, man.
You can only hope you can see more of Mendoza's interviews.
I will say this, regardless of whether Mendoza ends up a Jet or not, I will always follow him. Yeah. It's like Jameis Winston. I never stop following Jameis Winston just because I want to hear the stuff that he says.
Yeah,
I hope we get his commentary at the Super Bowl again this year.
Sign me up. I'm in. %. Fox should have gave him more money than the Giants did to just become an analyst.
Yeah, but like Mendoza's responses are like ChatGPT. It's like he has ChatGPT in his head.
I think that I genuinely, because from what I understand, he's like a brilliant like student, like very smart. I genuinely think he is ChatGPT. I'm telling you, he is. He's like a savant of something. I don't know, maybe football, but the dude can play. Regardless of what he says, the dude can play.
He should start a comedy routine if the NFL doesn't work out for him.
I like the perfect NFL booth for me 10, 15, 20 years from now. Mendoza and Winston. That's what I want to see in the booth. And then give them like somebody in the middle. Give them like just a regular actual person.
Or Kelsey.
And I
would love Kelsey in there too.
Just think of a pairing of Mendoza and Winston, what you would hear. It would be nothing that makes sense about the game that you're watching.
A little.
There'd be nothing. They'd be talking about like beignets like Winston did at the Super Bowl. Like and it'd be like a game in like New England.
We might need a podcast from the two of them.
And then God would come up at some point.
Then you need that whole thing to play out where the Giants move on from Dart, trade up, and get him.
Mendoza, locker room talk.
I don't agree with it, but for comedy's sake, I am 100% in.
Locker room talk with Mendoza and Winston.
The T-shirt, but to be fair, if he is drafted by the Jets, they're playing in the same building. Yeah. It could happen.
They could get like a.
They can hook up with the podcast.
Just clip this and then tag both of them on TikTok. See if we can inspire them.
You heard it here first. The podcast.
See if we could get them on the show.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But let's move on to the Friday game. Indiana, Oregon, Big Ten matchup. I feel like there's a lot more interest from our particular podcast in that game just because we have an Oregon fan here. I'll let the Oregon fan lead off this prediction. What do you got, Kev?
I mean, Indiana's a very good team, and they've shown it the whole season. I mean, I'm hoping for an Oregon.
Are they great or good? Or are they great good?
They're great. But, I mean, I do agree with what Kurt Cignetti said. It's hard to beat a good team twice. So I'm going to pick Oregon. Got to stick with the gut.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that kind of day for you, buddy. Just being honest here. This team that's playing right now, like the Indiana team playing now, is not the Indiana team that played Oregon the first time.
Okay, but you could say the same thing about Oregon.
I could, but Indiana's beaten good teams. Oregon beat Texas Tech, which is like beating an amputee. Like, just being honest here. No disrespect to the amputees. I hold you in higher regard than Texas Tech. But, like, I don't know. Mendoza right now is playing off the charts. Like, he really is. Like, I think he's the best quarterback. Well, he's obviously the best quarterback in the country, but he's playing in the playoff right now the best football at the quarterback position. More I do have questions about. He's definitely got a little bit of a turnover bug. He turns the ball over a little bit. And it does worry me when he faces this pass rush that has gotten better as the year has gone on. How does he handle that pass rush? Obviously, I'm not hiding it. I think Indiana wins this game. I think it's a close game again, but like I said, I think Moore makes a costly turnover, struggles facing the pressure that Indiana's putting on, and Mendoza just continues to do what he's doing. And it's just put up points and make big passes. To me, I know we're not picking it, but to me, Indiana is the team, I think, that wins the national championship. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it'll actually be better than the Ole Miss Miami game. But unfortunately, I think Moore makes a costly turnover or struggles facing pressure, and it costs them the game in a tight game.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, then for him, he'll become a Jet and have tons of costly turnovers.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to how dramatic the responses are going to be following this game. Like, not looking forward to it at all because, like, people, let's remember what our thoughts are going into this game. Like, Mendoza's the instant guy. Like, you can throw him in next year and he'll probably get you a few wins and he'll have a decent season. You're getting instant success from Mendoza. Moore is that, high ceiling development guy. It's not going to change regardless if Moore wins this game or not. So let's remember that. This is not the game where you're sitting there and you're like, Mendoza won, so he should be the lockout first overall. I am not taking your analysis seriously.
Yeah, that's very short-sighted to say that.
If anyone does that, but I know there's going to be responses like that just because of the head-to-head matchup. No, so there's a few things going into this game. First off, the Rose Bowl, to me, is one of the hardest places to play, and I know it's a neutral site when you get to this point in the season, but just the history behind it, it's the mecca of college football. The entire country is watching your game. The whole stadium's filled with the two teams. Half of it is Alabama's colors, half of it's Indiana's colors. And plus, Indiana had a month off, and they still came out. Other than that first drive, which Mendoza was on record in his interview afterwards saying that he thought they had a slow start. I was like, all right, one drive, okay. But after that first drive, it was just a wrecking ball. Indiana put it together, and they were able to crush Alabama. Mendoza made every throw that he needed to make. The confidence that Mendoza had, just love to see it. He was in control the entire game. It was very reassuring for any NFL team that is looking to pick him. But the defense, like Ty Simpson just didn't have a chance up until his injury, and it just continued into the second half. Alabama, they embarrassed Alabama. It felt like Alabama didn't even have a game plan going into that, but I think it's because Indiana had to answer for everything that Alabama threw at them. It just was never close. And this is a game that a lot of people said Alabama was going to keep it close. I personally felt like this could have been the upset, but Indiana proved me a lot. For Oregon, I don't know what to think of this team because in the first round, they give up 34 points to JMU, I think it was. This round, they shut out Texas Tech.
Yeah, you hear that, Texas Tech? You hear that? 34 to JMU, bitch.
A big goose egg. And then, Dante Moore, has all his targets back, but then, there are some turnover issues. He looked good. He made all the passes that he needed to make last game, but they also didn't.
To be fair, he only threw one pick, and it was on a fourth down play.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about that? What about that fumble that he? Well, I know he recovered it, but snap over his head, misses a snap, and
that was all game. That was the center really. You can't blame Moore for the center throwing the ball.
Listen, man, all it takes is one player to pounce on that, and it's a turnover.
I understand.
That was also.
Do you understand?
I do understand.
That was a field position game. I think Oregon's defense gave Moore in the offense favorable field position that entire game. They didn't really have to let Moore loose in that game. So maybe I'm it's the same thing as Miami last round when I was sitting there siding with Ohio State because I was a little worried about Carson Beck. I'm not worried about Dante Moore, but I don't know. I feel like I didn't see a lot from him last game, and now I'm what version of Dante Moore am I going to get in this game? My gut wants me to lean towards Oregon because of what Kevin said, where it's so hard to beat a team twice in the season. But then I sit here and I'm like, it's Fernando Mendoza. Indiana's playing some of the best football we've seen, between the Big Ten game and what they just did against Alabama. So I hate to agree with Mike twice today, but I think I'm going to pick Indiana to face Miami in the championship game.
Technically, I think you agreed with me more than twice. I mean, I think you agreed with all the slander I've provided tonight, too.
Yes. And actually, I think if we look back at episodes, I think we picked a lot of similar predictions across the board.
We do. So just so people that might be listening know, me and Steve don't agree on anything outside of this.
Yeah.
We spend most of our day arguing back and forth about the dumbest stuff.
Yeah.
So just to be clear.
I should put pictures of the text thread one day, what we say back and forth. But I'm happy we can agree on the podcast.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of good points that Mike throws.
I'm sure that there, as we get into the prospect talks, Steve has opinions on a lot of prospects that I might not have, but to be fair, I got to commend Steve because when the season began and I was high on Mendoza, Steve was not, held it back. And then Mendoza started performing, proving wrong, and he agreed with it. So, and actually, I think that your opinion on Moore, I did not agree with at first. And I've now started to come around to your opinion on Moore. So But I expect the prospect talk to get fun, and we all have different takes, so I think it'll be. I'm excited for it. And we only got 2 weeks left, so I'm super pumped to get into NFL draft season. That is my favorite part of the football season. So
Yeah,
because we never have anything to root for during the season.
there's that. There's that.
Also with the Mendoza thing, I feel like when he first came on after I think it was the Illinois game where they blew out Illinois, I was like, this guy's just it's not the big name that I was expecting. I was like, I don't know much about him. Watching him at Cal last season when they almost beat Miami, I think, at home, and College Game Day was there. That's as much as I knew about Fernando Mendoza at the time. But when in the beginning of the season, when all those flashy names were there, and we were like, all right, maybe there's hope for Arch Manning and all these other guys. I was like, ooh, Fernando Mendoza, why is he rising into the first round like this? But yeah, he definitely proved me wrong. I didn't want to believe it until very late into the season that Fernando Mendoza was the guy that if he's not going to get picked first overall, he's second overall. He's a high first round pick. But here I am. I think the other day we were talking about who should go first overall, and I was on Fernando Mendoza's side at that point. But
I think he probably still should go first overall, in all fairness. I mean, a little NFL draft talk. The Raiders and Jets don't have the greatest track record of developing quarterbacks. And typically you want to mitigate that by taking, maybe not the highest profile player, but one that's got a high baseline, so to speak. And yeah, I think Mendoza should be first overall, but my heart's telling me the Raiders are going to fall in love with potential. I mean, it's just that Al Davis way of thinking. And, physically, Mendoza's not going to blow anybody away physically. And I think Moore is going to test, assuming he does test at the combine, which I doubt he will, but I'm going to assume that athletically he's going to surpass Mendoza, which will be one more thing to fall in love with. I don't know. If you told me in 10 years both guys are really good, I believe you. By no means is this the sexy draft class we thought we were getting. I think we thought we were getting Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, and, we got Fernando Mendoza. I'm not even sure if Fernando Mendoza was on anybody's draft board before the year. To be fair, I don't remember. I got to look back on it. Maybe you guys can real quick. I don't remember a rise like this for a prospect. I really don't.
Man.
I don't remember one like this. I really don't, ever. Somebody that went from being people didn't know who he was, or maybe not familiar with him the way they were. I mean, after the Miami game, people might have known who he was, but yeah, this rise is incredible, and he's a good person, which makes it a little bit easier to root for him, I think.
Well, guys like Carson Wentz and Josh Allen, before the season started, were they considered first round picks?
Josh Allen, I'm pretty sure was. I have to look back on it, but I remember that year because we knew the Jets were going to be looking at a quarterback. I'm pretty sure he was on our radar well before that year. And actually, to go a step further, I did not want Josh Allen because of the interception issues in college. That's just the way it goes. No, I think Josh Allen was. Carson Wentz is a good one, but I feel like he was getting the hype of being a first-round pick because he had won those 2 national titles. And obviously, at the time, transfer portals weren't a thing. So I think that's probably why he stayed where he was.
Josh Rosen, because he had one good year at UCLA, I think. And then he was a first-round pick.
The same draft class.
That was the same draft class.
You know who I was thinking about? Was RG3 on everybody's board as a first-round pick the year that he won the Heisman with Baylor? Because I don't remember where his standing was. It was Andrew Luck all the way. I remember that. But I think RG3 was one of those guys, that year Baylor and him went on a run, and he rose, won the Heisman, and rose up the draft boards. But I don't remember if he was getting first-round love like that or, prospect love like that. I don't know. This might be a first for a guy to go from – a nothing recruit at Cal to a transfer to Indiana to a Heisman Award, potentially first overall pick, and a national championship. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that before. What provided this was the portal.
What about Mahomes?
I don't think that he was super coveted until that year. I'd have to look. It's been a while. I don't remember that. And to be fair, even when Mahomes was drafted, I was like, who? What?
Yeah.
What about
the best thing out of the Big 12?
What about Jaden Daniels, though, too? Because, he wasn't great at LSU.
He wasn't great at Arizona State, but he had 2 years at LSU, though, didn't he?
He did.
Where he produced.
Did he?
Yeah, I really don't think we've ever seen a prospect rise like this. Daniels might have not been a first-round pick, the previous year, but people knew who he was. How many did we, I honestly, like I said, if you would have asked me about Fernando Mendoza in the beginning of the year, I would have looked at you and been like, what? Okay. He wasn't somebody that registered for me. So I don't know. I think this is a cool thing. And like I said, if you want to find one positive of the transfer portal, is it provided us this. Otherwise, he would have been a Cal middling team in the ACC, and we probably never would have seen him. The transfer portal provided something cool in this story. So
plus, all 4 quarterbacks are transfers.
Yeah,
proves the point a little bit further that why develop? Just go out and, like I said, the Bryce Underwood thing is that whole situation. I'm telling you, as a Michigan fan, you develop him for 3 years, you finally think you're going to get that payoff, and then he ends up at LSU. I'd be livid. So why even bother?
there's a good chance that happens because
it is, but that's going to be so frustrating for coaching staff. Like I would be that is the part of the portal that I hate.
Yeah, but
is that you could invest money and time into this kid, and he could just high and dry leave you and go do it with somebody else.
But that's not going to be because of what Michigan is and if they're able to pay him. They've shown that they can pay him. It's because of who the coach is. Like Kyle Whittingham, excellent coach, but he's a run first coach. Like there's another season where Bryce Underwood throws 12 touchdown passes again, or whatever amount he threw. I think he had 15 total touchdowns the entire year, something like that. Like I could see Bryce Underwood leaving. That's not the best interest of his NFL stock. Like there's no reason to stick around. You already got paid. You made your money. So.
Also, to be fair, if he has another year like he had last year, who's to say Whittingham doesn't go out? Well, I don't know what the recruiting class looks at quarterback, but who's to say that Whittingham isn't like, I need, this guy instead. I think it goes both ways in that regard. But I guess in a perfect world, Bryce Underwood comes out this year, throws, let's just say 25 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And you get that big step forward. And then all of a sudden, we'll just say LSU comes in and goes, you know what, I'm going to give him $9 million a year.
You know who?
And he just.
Who Michigan just got? Not to cut in. He was in their recruiting class. CJ Carr's brother is now at Michigan.
I did see that, yes. I did see that.
I would love to see him develop into a starter. That'd be fun.
Yeah, but who's to say CJ Carr's in the same boat? Who's to say that he doesn't develop at Notre Dame and then transfer out?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And Michigan would, I'm have to assume, is going to be on that list if he ever did it.
It would be. Just because of the name. Lloyd Carr, legendary coach.
Yep.
I mean, if Freeman leaves, then I would see most of Notre Dame's roster probably going.
Well, you already see now a large portion of them just go to Indiana now. I was looking at that the other day, and I'm like, man, that sucks. The center for Indiana, I think it's a center, right? The one that just won the MVP for the bowl game. I mean, he was a 3-year starter or whatever at Notre Dame, and just high and dry left and went to Indiana.
Oh my God! If Freeman left for the NFL next year, I could see it being like the Dr. Evil meme where he's saying like, "Come here." Like CJ, like Hoover's gonna leave, and CJ Carr's just gonna fall into Signetti's lap. I could see it.
Yeah, I mean Notre Dame's biggest, like right now, Indiana was not a concern of theirs 3 or 4 years ago, and now they've got it. Like, I'm going to say it right now, they're the best team in the country.
Karma,
and that's not good for Notre Dame.
Karma, after what transpired after they didn't make.
Yeah, maybe if they would have played their bowl game and not been spoiled little brats, they'd have something to stand on. Little coward ass.
So Mike doesn't like the Big 12 nor Notre Dame. Just throw that.
So just to be clear, I used to hate USC with a passion. They were my least favorite team. I hated USC. And over the last couple of years, there's really been no reason to dislike them because they just, like, they're not bad. They're not good. They're just kind of bleh. And then there's Notre Dame. And specifically after what they pulled this year, like, it's going to take a long while for me to settle up on this, especially with, like, their stupid little guarantee that they got and all this other stuff. And all how they treated the ACC, saying, "Oh, there's irreparable damage," and then it turned out that, "Oh, wait, let's go to dinner and solve this because you weren't gonna have a schedule." Like, Notre Dame's my new hatred in football. USC is not what?
Besides the Big 12.
Yeah, but USC I don't care about anymore. I'm cool with them. It's all right. Just don't give me another quarterback.
I was about to say, just as long as the Jets don't draft
keep your quarterbacks
away
from the New York Jets, please. Just keep them away, and we'll be cool. And it's us. It's not you. It's all us, not you. Please stay away.
All right. Why don't we wrap this up?
Yeah.
So, college football playoffs, as this is being released, starts back up tonight. So enjoy the playoff. Enjoy Ole Miss in Miami, and enjoy Oregon versus Indiana. I know Kevin's going to be watching that one right in front of his TV, front and center. But yeah, we'll
probably ignoring every text.
Yeah,
especially especially from this guy over here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a very nice guy.
yeah, we'll definitely be watching, and we'll probably be talking about it. But we'll be back next week. The portal's finishing up next week. We'll have the championship game set, and we'll be able to talk about that. And then after that, buckle up, boys. It's gonna start our draft talk. So a lot of mocks coming your way, a lot of thoughts towards the NFL draft this season, leading up to the NFL draft, and we'll be there every step of the way. But we'll catch you.
Absolutely. Closing argument. What channel's the Texas Tech, BYU, and all those other schools? What time are they on in the playoff?
0.
They're on ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Yeah, that's where they belong. Have a good night, y'all.